Okay, so I guess it's 10:04. Thank you everyone for coming on to this ETC call 16. The topic of today is the preliminary proto-treasury meeting. Just to be sure on the motivation here, the proto-treasury proposal, Ecip 1098, has been presented in the past. So this isn't exactly a presentation, but it is a discussion for feedback, debate, or constructive criticism. Um, of course, hope everyone just if you're not speaking, please be on mute, and of course, everyone be respectful. And this is not intended to be a consensus defining meeting on the specific proposal, rather a great time for input and collaboration. So appreciate everyone coming. Also, if you're part of I know I do see some people from IOHK, ETC Co-op, as well as ETC Core on this call. So if you guys and if there's any other contributing individuals, I would say feel free to introduce yourself quickly, and then we will get on to the open discussion.
Cool. I'm Kevin. I'm from the EGC Co-op. How's everybody doing?
So yeah, Bob Summerall here from the co-op as well.
All right, Luke here from ETC Core.
I'm Chris here from ETC Labs. Nice to meet you all.
All right, if there's anyone else that would like to introduce themselves, feel free to. Otherwise, we'll get on to the open discussion. Cool. So Ecip 1098 is proposing a proto-treasury. There were some resources in the meeting issue. Hopefully you've taken a look at those or seen the presentations and articles before that. Obviously you can share your opinion for or against, or what you like and what you don't like, or what you might think could be changed. I'll save my opinion for later, but if you have anything to say, please do so.
Just before you do that, Steph, would you like to give maybe just a brief summary of the proposal?
Sure. So the Treasury proposal is proposing a proto-treasury. The proposal as is basically says it'll take a percentage of the block reward, and that would be distributed to a treasury smart contract, and that contract will start off with 4 recipients, basically 3 independent core development teams and a community recipient for community projects and community grants. And and as far as like the smart contract in particular, there are mechanisms to where it could self-destruct and things like that. But maybe someone from IHK can dive deeper into that. Otherwise, that's kind of like the basic overview and value proposition.
I know Carlos from IOHK is having some trouble getting his voice activation to work right now. So Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I'm trying to see what his permissions or anything is.
Yeah, I see in Discord. It doesn't look like he has a mic connected. If you try downloading it to your phone and then rejoining, maybe the audio will be better.
Interesting. I think there was somebody from IOHK
Yeah, I think
during roll call.
David from IHK messaged me saying he doesn't have talking rights either. I don't know if you're able to see that as well.
Yeah.
He's the Punks.
Yeah, they all have the IOHK IOG badge. I'm wondering what's up with that. Perfect time to get locked out of your computer.
Right. But while we're sorting that audio, while we're sorting the audio issues with the IOHK folks that joined the call, does anyone want to share any type of feedback, debate, or criticism regarding the Treasury?
Is there anybody strictly against the Treasury? The way it is now?
All right. Does that mean I get to go first?
I guess so. Lucky number one.
All right. Well, I think there's a few. So the proto-treasury, as far as the value proposition, I think the as far as funding for the ecosystem is extremely important. Also, ever since ETC Dev, we've kind of seen how lack of funding scenarios play out when it comes to like just keeping core developers on board to maintain and innovate on the protocol. And obviously, blockchain technology is I would say, well, it's still an emerging technology, right? And we're still pioneering. So the cost for R&D is obviously really high, and having that incentive to fund core developers and independent teams at a roadmap, I think, is extremely important, especially if we want to innovate and be a unique person, or not a unique person, but a unique protocol in the ecosystem. Because a lot of, and when you think about the competition, if ETC is not competing in the marketplace, then obviously that's probably not good. That's probably not good for the constituents, and people who are mining or participating. Obviously, you want to make sure that value is being invested in. And how do we do that in the ecosystem? We have core development, we have outreach, education, advocacy, and of course our wonderful community of contributors who have also generally been they've had very little incentive to participate. They have very little incentive, but the many are still here, so bless them. Yeah, and then yeah, that's why I think the Treasury is extremely important. I know there's some criticism of the Treasury, which I think are very reasonable, and also some good compromises. But I'd love to hear any positive feedback and criticisms, or even negative feedback, criticisms, or anything else. Anyone like to provide their input?
I mean, just to piggyback off what you said, we've seen in the past 4 years since etc.
Hello,
Since
testing.
ECC. Since he's.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello.
Oh,
Oh,
David.
hello.
That's
Hi, it's David. Yeah, hi. I finally was able to connect. Sorry to interrupt.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll just finish real quick. I was just gonna say that since its inception over the years, the donation model has shown us it doesn't work. We've had highs, we've had lows, we've had incentives with those prices for whales to donate, for people to donate. There have been efforts to raise money, such as with Dexaran's Dex ICO, which uh, did not get anywhere near its ETC limit. Um, there's just no donating happening in ETC with the donation model, and that's just historically how it is. It's just factual. But going forward, this definitely needs to be addressed because you've seen ETC dev have to close their doors because their financiers or whatever no longer had wanted to support them, and then same thing's going on with same thing went on with IOHK when we kind of backed up away from it. When I was there, we needed a revenue stream. And then, yeah, it's really about the failing donation model and how can we improve in a way that's decentralized and proper. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
and
Do I have to?
David. Since you recently joined, would you like to formally introduce yourself to the call?
Yeah.
Don't seem to hear him.
Can you hear me?
I heard that.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, okay. Did you hear my introduction or not? Sorry.
We can hear now. Perfect.
Yeah, we didn't hear the
Oh,
introduction.
okay, okay. So my name is David Rosales. Sorry for the technical problems and nuisance, but yes, I'm project manager in Mantis, working for IOHK since December last year. Yeah, and that's myself. And then in terms of the treasury, if I might take a stance here. So from IOHK side, our position why we think treasury it's necessary. It's because the lack of innovation that has been going on since on the last years, and seeing that at the end to be able to implement a roadmap independent, not just upstream coming from ETH, but giving ETC their own identity and promote the values of Cody's law, immutability, etc., and give a different sensation of just a copy paste of ETH. We need innovation, and innovation at the end can only bring by funds. So meaning to pay developers to implement those. We can no longer survive being a coin in the crypto market based on grants on benefactors, right? So that's really my stance here, and we can discuss, the ins and outs, but some funding needs to come in to the main contributors to the ecosystem, meaning the clients, but also other not just technology, but also like publicity, relationships, and onboarding projects to onboard external developers to switch from ETH to ETC, for example, right? So that's an effort that will make the ETC ecosystem grow, and basically we need money for that governed by the treasury, and that's really my stance.
Oh, awesome.
All right, guys. I think we can all agree that more funding in the ecosystem would be great for ETC. I think one of the biggest criticisms of the current Treasury proposal is the source of the funds being mining, well, block rewards. Taxing the security of a proof of work network probably isn't a smart idea. So is there any suggestions for potential other sources of funding the Treasury? For example, transaction fees or something along those lines?
I mean, I don't really think that argument really holds any water, and that would be because as the price goes up, that 20%, it pretty much disappears, and as the price keeps going up, miners start making even more money, even more of a percentage back than they would if the price had not moved and we had not moved to a treasury.
The network's always going to have 20% less hash rate if it's a 20% tax. That's just going to be the result.
What I'm talking about, the rewards.
Overall rewards. I see what he's saying. I mean, if the price goes up, it shouldn't even matter whether it's 20% or not because they're still making more money.
Yeah.
Yes, but there'd
Every
be
block reward is
20%
gonna
more
be
hash rate if there wasn't the fee, is what I'm saying.
How do you figure there will be 20% more hash rate?
Yeah, I don't
It
understand.
would be more than 20% more profitable.
I
The,
don't.
the number the number of miners on the network is not fixed, guys. People come and go. As the price goes up and it becomes more
Yeah,
profitable, more miners
I
join the
understand
network.
that.
Okay, for sure. So so whatever the block reward is, that's part of the that's miners rewards is gonna work itself out.
Yes, but the reward would be 20% higher without the tax.
And if the ETC goes to $500, I mean, I don't understand. Your
Yeah,
point makes no,
exactly.
it has no solid ground.
I think the main point of the treasury is obviously when it comes to the treasury is to provide ecosystem funding, and that funding is supposed to make the ecosystem more valuable, such as innovative features, advocacy.
Should the source of funding not incentivize that then? Block rewards are fixed in terms of there's a block roughly every 13.2 seconds right now. Whether the teams deliver anything or not, they're going to receive that reward. If it was based on transaction fees, for example, then increased usage would result in increased funding. There's no incentive to actually deliver things that result in more usage on the blockchain.
Okay, so you increase its transaction fees, and then who would want to use the chain with high transaction fees? Look at it.
I think
That makes
the
sense.
answer to your question there would be it would stay the same. It wouldn't be dynamic, and the incentive would be because the community can vote you out. If you're not doing your job, if you're not adhering to whatever the terms may be, nothing's set in stone. But if you don't adhere to those terms and you don't report what you're doing, you can get kicked out just as easily as you came in.
And as far as emerging, and when it comes
What's
to
the quorum required on one of those votes?
I'd have to look at the proposal. Oh, it's 1/3, I think. Oh no, I don't want to
I think it was like
communicate.
What was the question?
Oh, what's the
what's the quorum required to pass a vote?
1/3, yes.
Okay, yeah.
1/3 of.
The circulating supply.
1/3 of the circulating supply, yes. But that's one of the things that we could think, because in terms of because 1/3 of the maximum supply is quite high to get, right? In terms of any proposal that wants to go through to modify the proto-treasury itself. So we could think about some other movement where we could tweak it and lower it.
Just a rough calculation, guys. The current market cap is about 12 billion, yes? 1/3 of the circulating supply. That's a lot of money locked up just to vote out one of the current teams.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that figure is probably too high. Just to speak to your point, Luke, about fees. I mean, I think that if a cost was added, a fee was added there, not only would that be very friction-inducing in terms of people wanting to use ETC, I think also the fact is that fees on ETC are so low that they likely could not support even a single person if you were to try and have the raise in that way. In terms of the that you would have a 20% lower hash rate, I think that is certainly true. However, since the start of May, hash rate has more than doubled. And that's obviously following the price rises. So I mean, ultimately, hash rate is following price, obviously, and if you have a chunk removed, then that's obviously going to lower things in absolute terms. But I think that's less important than sustainable funding. That to my mind, in the absence of a treasury, we have a real huge problem in terms of things keeping going.
I'm just suggesting, the transaction fees as an example, as an alternative source. It's not ideal, of course, but the biggest criticism that I've seen seems to be the miner rewards being the source of the funds.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what another source would be, based on the existing small size of the ecosystem and the the real minority position that we're in versus Ethereum. Finding other sources has been ludicrously hard.
I mean, if one thing this community could do is that they could build additional infrastructure, especially a bridge to ETH, and then you could tax transactions coming from ETH, and help that pay a little bit for the cost of running the infrastructure, but also help everybody stay afloat.
So a bridge was built by ChainSafe between ETH and ETC. That was funded by Labs, and there was about $5 worth of transfer that was done on that in sort of liquidity in the pool, and just
hardly
nothing,
any
just
activity.
nothing.
And also, David Rosales speaking, getting it from transactions fees, that's not a reliable source of having a steady development team, because transactions might come and go, but instead the coming it from a minor fee, it gives a financial stability in terms of planning and sizing a development team on the mid long term, right?
When it comes for the treasury to make because the treasury is to fund activities in the ecosystem that's supposed to contribute value, right? So let's say you have, let's say 20%, because that's what's in the specification right now. You say, okay, maybe my hash rate's going to go down 20%, maybe in the immediate. But when it comes to having great features, advocacy, and you just you really have what all the other competitors have to really drive drive the project into the market. Like, of course, we had some great highs and stuff, but as far as the technology and trying to be more unique than upstream, and that's from a business and competitive sense. I feel like that it just makes a sense to have the treasury to also fund all those activities. And when it comes to making the ecosystem more valuable, that would be in the miner's best interest as well. Obviously, taking reward initially takes 20% from the block reward, but as far as the long-term outlook for the ecosystem, I feel like it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, I don't even see how it really matters because I mean the price and the hash rate ratio will work itself out. You know, in terms of profitability, whether you take that 20% or not. I mean, look at Zach. Look at doesn't Dash have some sort of a treasury or coming out of its block rewards? Same thing
Yes.
with Beam. You know,
Yes.
all of these coins. I mean, there might be some fluctuation initially, but in the long run, I think it will work itself out. So whether you take 10%, 5%, 15%, the price to hash rate ratio will adjust itself, and you know the miners, they're not going to steadily sell at a loss. You know, eventually they're come to a point where there's going to be a line where okay, I'm not selling below this point because that's how much I'm earning. So I think you know in the long term, maybe even in the midterm, it will the price ratio will work itself out. So I don't even understand what the concern is all about. You know, the whole taxing miners and stuff like that. You know, I'll happily mine a coin that has a bright future, has lots of developers, um, is fully self-sufficient, and because I know I'm mining something that's not just some shit coin came out of nowhere that has some crappy developers and
One
nobody's working on
developer.
it, right? You know, or has one team that runs everything and determines everything.
So, if I can jump in here, the last two or three speakers, and I'm sorry I'm having a hard time keeping track of names without faces, but the term long term has come up a couple of times in terms of couching this as a long term solution for sourcing revenue for this development. I want to remind everybody of the ECIP 1017 monetary policy schedule that was adopted several years ago. In this schedule, block rewards are slated to decrease by 20% every 5 million blocks, with the idea being that block rewards, which is a form of currency inflation, will peter off, and in lieu of that would be transaction fees.
So just another thing to say is that the 20% is not at all set in stone. That's something that we could iterate on, especially given the recent price rises. Maybe a lower figure is workable. What we
yeah, we can, Isaac.
Huh?
Hello?
Bob, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Isaac.
Yeah, Bob, can you hear Isaac?
Bob, I'm not talking about the 20%.
No, I can't. Sorry, did I speak over the top of you?
Yeah, you can't.
I figured. Yeah, you're normally so polite, Bob. And it didn't sound like you. So, anyways, I was just gonna say that the block rewards are intended to peter off, right? So, if we're talking about sourcing a revenue stream from any portion of that issuance, then I think it's important that we keep that considered as a context in a medium-term solution, because in the next 5 or 10 years that may be viable, and the revenue generated may be viable to fund a few teams, but in the long term, which is the context in which a lot of decisions about ETC governance have been made, the revenue isn't expected to be there from block rewards in the long term. That's all. I'm done.
Yeah.
Bob, if you can hear me, all on you.
Bob, did you get that? Oh man, I think he can hear me.
Can you hear us, Bob?
Because he's
I
having a little connection issue.
I see him
Yeah,
talking.
yeah,
'cause
Isaac,
he
I think
lights up.
you're spot on about the supply cap, and I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
maybe somebody from IOHK might want to touch on that. Because once block rewards, and this is very far into the future, but once it does happen, what then? So like once the block rewards are gone, where does
So
the
the block, sorry, Kevin, to interrupt you, but to be clear, the block rewards are never expected to disappear.
Yep.
They're reduced by 20% every 5 million blocks. So they're approaching an asymptote.
Right. This would just mean that Ethereum Classic's price would just have to go up significantly. That's all.
They won't disappear like with Bitcoin. People are afraid that
Isn't it just reduced? I mean, it will be like we'll be all dead by the time.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And speaking of time, I know in some of the resources that I put in the issue, I don't think Donald McIntyre was able to join this meeting unless he is here. There's also been proposals of like time limits and stuff. So if anyone has any opinions on that, feel free to talk about that.
Wonderful, buddy.
I think he had a proposal where it was something or other. He had a time limit on the treasury with the ability to renew or completely get rid of, like every 4 years or something like that. But that was the gist of his proposal. Not sure how you would do that, but
To vote on the treasury? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you would end up voting on the treasury and through the ECIP. Well, it'd have to be proposed from his post. You would have to go through the ECIP process all over again, and you would, in the end, come up with a yes or a no.
I
And
would
then,
hope it would be more frequent than 4 years.
yeah, I'm not 100% on that number. I'm just assuming, I'll say 2 to 4 years. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the major problems with that is you have all this infrastructure built up, and then after 4 years, like, okay, now who are you going to ask to maintain that infrastructure? And several thousands of dollars a month, and probably just cloud costs and stuff, or whatever you're running your infrastructure with. Obviously, someone would have to pick that up, and I know with ETC's current situation, there hasn't really been newcomers to take on those roles, and some parts of infrastructure have just been left unsupported, and other existing people had to reach up and increase their cost. So with the price rising and capacity and the need to increase capacity, like it's great for mining profits and stuff, but as far as the core developers and people maintaining the infrastructure, it's more cost to them. Which I feel like the treasury, I feel like that problem would, I think the treasury would solve that problem.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
Has there been any research into the current miners' profitability margins?
I've been talking with miners and mining pools. Some of their profitability margins are allegedly smaller because they run a bunch of nodes and stuff. Also,
Smaller than what?
I'm not gonna share the dollar amount because I was discussing with someone, but it would be. I have to look back at my thing. I have that dug in my emails. I can't grab it just now, but but obviously because they have to have energy costs, cloud fees. I think that's more for the pool side, as far as like the mining farm side. I know the profit margins aren't they aren't that huge or anything.
Just because keep in mind that the 20% proposed is before expenses. It's from the reward, not from the miner's profits. So if the margin's less than 20%, it's going to it's going to knock them off entirely.
Yeah, but again,
until the hash rate drops down, at least.
When the price increases, that's not going to be an issue. But
when the system recovers and becomes more valuable.
The price is an external factor, guys. It's not part of the protocol.
This argument that a price increase will solve it, like look back at what just happened on ETC, right? Price went up. What happened to the hash rate? Hash rate went up. Are any of you miners? Do you know what that feels like? That's extra competition, right? So you're going to be winning fewer blocks with the same number of rigs, right? So as price rises, right, demand rises, demand from the miner side, right? So competition, there should be a market equilibrium based on what miners are willing to accept as a profit margin to do the work of mining. But that's always going to approach some probably pretty consistent number. I don't know. Let's say it's 5%, right? Like they're like a grocery store. Maybe they're willing to take 1% profit, but as price goes up, that many more miners are going to join the game. As price falls, that many fewer miners are going to leave the game. Right.
Yeah. And the rewards get dispersed a lot less often, and they got to compete longer and harder to get their rewards they once had before. I get what you're saying.
So what's the argument here? I'm not understanding. I mean, we all know most of us know how mining works. I mean, most of us have it.
I know. Okay, so what I'm saying is that there is an argument that has been floating around this conversation that that we're willing to take 20% from the mining issuance right now, with the excuse that prices rising will offset that cost. But I'm saying that because the mining market is a free price discovering market, that is an invalid argument, right? Because as the price rises, the mining market competition rises, right? So a miner is not going to be making more than 1 or 2 or 5%, right?
Doesn't make sense.
No matter what the price is.
Wouldn't that happen regardless, though, even if it wasn't, say, from a treasury, like, say, more miners join the network? Like, let's say when the ETH moves to ETH 2.0, in 18 months, we'll see a huge increase in hash rate, and then mining competition is just so hard that I don't like, but miners are just going to give up. No, they're going to keep mining. They're going to keep.
Why do people mine Bitcoin, right? They consistently making less and less Bitcoin, but they mine more Bitcoin, right?
But
so it's just
no, they don't mine more Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin block.
You're telling me Bitcoin's blockchain hash rate has not grown significantly just in the last year alone. What are you talking about? Okay, so the thing is, if I'm getting less rewards, I'm not willing to sell those rewards as easily as I was back then when I was before the 20% deduction per se, right?
So, free electricity.
And Yeah, I pay electricity. We all pay electricity, and that's another factor that would factor in, right? So if I'm paying electricity, I'm making a lot less ETC in terms of coin, not price wise, but coin wise. Now I'm less reluctant to sell that coin for the price which I was previously selling it for. So I'm gonna hold it until I'm comfortable with the price that I want to get for my Ethereum Classic. So it's a similar principle. The price is gonna go up. How did Zek manage all these years?
How are you
How
covering
did
your expenses while you're
manage
holding?
all these years? Please tell me. They pay a percentage of their mining fees. I mean, how did they sustain? How did their price keep going up? Why did their miners didn't give up and just leave it and abandon the chain? Because it's all gonna work out. It's basic math. I mean, I make less coin. I'm not gonna give it up as easy. It's just as simple as that. And if the price grows, it all works itself out. They're still gonna be making either the same amount or maybe more, but the profitability should theoretically stay there. I just don't understand, your argument about how all of a sudden we're gonna tax everybody 20%. No, people are just gonna. It's almost like a reward reduction. Think of it as a halvening or a quartering. You're just making less of coins, so
Yeah,
therefore,
nice.
it's gonna be valued a little bit
But the
higher.
inflation is the same.
So there's scarcity, right? So there's more scarcity.
But there's not more scarcity because the inflation rate is exactly the same.
So are you saying that the treasury will dump all that coin? So
They will need
once
to
once
sell
the
it to fund
treasury gets
development.
the coin, is it back in circulation? Is it back on exchange? Is that coin being traded?
How are they funding development if they're not selling the coins?
What do you
Right,
mean
they're
selling
fun.
the coins?
What do you mean selling the coins, right? So you're saying that at the
How
minute
how are they using the coins to pay people?
is the coin once the coin, let's say the coin, the 20% is taken out to the treasury, does the developer immediately gets rewarded? How is this treasury set up? Do they just get paid right away? Like, here's the money, now go do what you want, or are the developers going to get paid as per work,
It's
as proof of work, right?
it's still circulating supply.
Yes, as a value for money for value, meaning so we put something in the table, we implement it, and then you get paid from that pot. Let's say it this way, right? So you generate value for the net for the product, and then you get paid for that.
So exactly. So the coin has been generated, it's been sitting there, but that developer is not going to pay it until he produce value to the ecosystem, right? And once that value is produced, only then will he get paid, and then he can sell that ETC coin. So theoretically speaking, that coin is not in circulation until something can be given to the ecosystem. And the more people contribute to the ecosystem, the more use case there is, and the more people will want to use it. Naturally, that will drive up the price. So therefore, I just don't understand your concern or even your argument. It makes zero. And it
Is
has no
Treasury
solid
Yeah.
ground.
temporary, or is it
No
run
solid
by
ground.
the protocol?
The supply is still growing
I-
at the
i-
same rate.
Is the Treasury temporary, or is it going to be forever part of ETC? Because it seems like a
What does the
stopgap
community want? What does the
from a
community
like a
want?
from a
So the current specification, I don't believe
Then
has a cutoff date.
Well, your mic's really low.
Sorry, I believe the current treasury specification as is does not have like 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years. But if you have an opinion on that, feel free to express it.
Yeah,
Because
would you release like 5% the first year, and then less and less as you go, hoping the price would rise?
in my opinion, one probably has been expressed before. It's the probably something related to the centralization of the funds or something, uh, or the fact that a dev fee is a little bit in a little bit intrusive on the protocol. But I mean, that's probably been said before, already figured out. But yeah, I was curious though, because it seems like funding is a challenge. I think incentivizing the funding is what needs to be solved, as opposed to just hoping people throw money at stuff, which to me sounds like the solution is a smart contract.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to show my own
Yes.
stuff. Like
So
It's
on the
it's
call,
always
but
come down to this. Sorry, go ahead.
the treasury as is, there is solidity code
To hear you.
out there for the treasury. I'm sure that some of the IOHK guys can share with you. And yeah, basically the smart contract would be the distribution mechanism for the treasury reward.
It's hard to hear you, Stu.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
pretty low.
Sorry, I'm recording, so I'm playing with my mic volume. So the treasury specification as is does have there is solidity code, because I know you have messed with smart contracts before, so I think someone from IOHK can probably share that with the channel.
But are you talking about using a smart contract in a totally different way, like maybe say a DAO style smart contract, like a
that's what I would be suggesting. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to come in as the guy that sounds like he's got all the answers, but it's just like funding, finding those resources, incentivizing people to do that. It's something I've thought about quite a bit, and then also the governance of where those funds should go. I don't really know how I should start if I'm going to like present that, because it's quite a bit of information. And this is an hour 30-minute call.
I would say maybe if someone from IOHK can just clarify the smart contract and the treasury.
Yes. So.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, that does make sense. I'm not saying that a contract doesn't exist. It's just really the protocol behind that contract. Like, what's the actual, like, what are the dynamics of that smart contract, as opposed to just saying, give this guy $50, give this guy $50, give that guy $50. Are there deeper tokenomics to it? And that's something that I believe I've solved. But I'm going to have to figure out how to present that in a better fashion, because I feel like this call would be too ad hoc and too much to keep up with, because we can't screen share anything.
I think it was said that it wasn't just like, hey, here's 50 ETC, go to work. It's like, paperwork. Like, you got to present something viable to get part of that.
Their proposals would have to be approved.
Yeah. So the treasury specification as is. So let's say it's going to the initial 3 proposed teams and the community grant system. One of the big, as far as the initial 3 core development teams, obviously you have to have like a legal entity that is legally accountable of things too. So like, for example, from the ETC co-op side, you have to, when you're doing work, you have to have contracts, you have IRS reporting and all this other stuff. So that ensures like treasury compliance, at least to exist in the real world. And then when it comes to actually producing work and accountability, obviously you need transparency with the community and stuff. And that's also been something suggested in the treasury, like, hey, what if we have some accountability reporting requirements within the specification to ensure that there is core development engagement and stuff. Like, I know from the co-op perspective, we publish things every month, quarterly, bud sheets, spreadsheets, all that other stuff. I'm not sure how in detail everyone else would have to go to that, but some minimal accountability requirements is probably ideal.
Yeah, I know right now in the spec as it is right now, it touches on weekly and weekly development reports. But I would say that would be like a bare minimum to some sort of transparency.
No, monthly or quarterly. Weekly is too much.
Okay, monthly, quarterly.
Yeah, but regarding to the
Weekly would be too
question
much.
before, to the solidity, to how it is done. So in a too long didn't read, it's grabbing that 20% reward, inserting it into the Solidity contract as a function, and then it gets divided between that 10% for the Gitcoin or possibly a community grant, and then the rest, the 90% left, it's split evenly by all the community or all the rest of the fund receivers. So in the initial proposal was etc COP, IOHK, and another team that will support Corgeth.
I think the only concern that I would have with the treasury is in legal aspect. Would it put ETC in securities um
There. That
area?
sounds about right.
So that's
Yeah,
the
Jeez, yeah.
that has
that's the
been
only thing.
analyzed, and we will pay it from IOHK perspective, for example, because it's a private organization. So we'll have to pay taxes out of after that because it's considered as a revenue stream. So IRS will have to be paid. Um, in the case of ETC Corp, I think not because them being an NGO, but I like that Bob to refer to that. But anyway, at the end, it will be IOHK or ETC Corp phase on those fund receivers, right? And that tied up onto what Steve said, right? To make a transparency report to show where the value for money is going, right? So we spent, I don't know, this amount of money in paying this amount of developers. Uh, uh, we have built that and that platform. We are investing into getting a research paper, for example, and get the IP on that. And this is something that we want to implement on the long. So stuff like that can be showed in a transparency report where the funds got spent to, right? And then see the value and the end results in terms of like ACAP proposals and further development for the ecosystem.
Yeah, and they can be voted out if they're, misappropriating funds.
As far as I know another recipient is the community grants fund or whatever, and when it came to the legality stuff, um, like some legal entity has to be behind that too. So that's kind of a something to ponder on. I think from the um, like I have no idea if someone wants if there would be a new entity created, but obviously a community, some legal entity would have to administer and back the community fund portion, at least just to make sure that that's compliant and survives with real world circumstances.
I just posted something in the general channel that may be uh, relevant there. It's this thing called Open Collective, but it pretty much is to be the legal identity for open source projects. Maybe interesting to explore further.
What is the percentage of this? And this is percentage of everything mined, correctly? Correct. I'm looking for it now. I don't see it.
I believe it's 20%, but that's not set in stone.
That's so okay. So 1/5. Okay, yeah, that's what I heard earlier. So 1/5 of everything that's mined is going towards a treasury for further development.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because what I was gonna ask is what if, yeah, because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Not when you look at other coins like PivX or um, Dash. I think Dash has a ridiculous split between miners, developers, and founders. 20%, even though it's not even set in stone, but 20% is very small relatively relative to the other.
If you want to scale, and you also got to look at what was the average like low price of ETC, then that funding is significantly less, and you think about like
How much do you think that is a day?
a day. I haven't calculated at the recent price.
What do
So those-
we think um, the 20% is per day in today's
yeah,
terms?
yeah,
I have the calculation per year with the current with $100 per ETC token. It's 12 million per team.
Yep. And mind you, you have Ethereum developers, Ethereum
Considering 3 teams.
organizations that have huge war chests. You've got like 300,000 Ethereum, which equates to like that's just Vitalik's personal wallet. Not to mention like every other founder, every other early contributor.
Yes, but that sources their own funds. That's not taxing someone else's funds.
Money.
So, my hope was creating something amazing and then earning fees off of that and then funding more development with that. I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything, but I am here to present what I have, put something on the table. It's an Oracle solution. I'm not trying to sell that, but just assume that we have something that's like, Uniswap grade or like something that's as popular as Link or something that takes off. I mean, I think that everybody would agree if we could somehow perpetuate development with successful projects. I think that's the ideal, right?
I mean, I'm under impression that that's how it's going to work. You create something and you get paid for it.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
And fun
Yeah,
fun
but the whole
fun,
chain,
fun,
the
fun,
survival of the whole chain, because what I'm saying right now is something that I've actually built. And I didn't know anything about this treasury too much. And so I'm saying for the whole chain, I think that's the ideal.
Obelisk, right?
That would be ideal, but in crypto, it's a little more special, especially with people who are still riding on their 2017 ICOs and their pre-mines and all those other things. Like there's just so much stupid amounts of money that having a more traditional type of business to revenue stream is I wouldn't say is ETC's privilege right now.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I mean, I think that
Chainlink.
I think the key thing though is this proto-treasury is very simple, and that's very intentional. We need sustainable funding for the client teams and for projects like now. Having that conditional on something that doesn't exist, no, we just can't do that. So
Okay. What's the best way for me to put my information in front of everybody without completely just taking over the stage right now?
Probably to author an ECIP.
Yes, right in the
For new
ECIP,
proposals, or author an ECIP. Yep. If you have a different proposal.
Okay. So it would not be a proposal.
Just general.
Okay, so this is a call for a proposal
So
of like.
if it's a comment, then you can go to the ECP.
You could always post your stuff in general if you have like information you want to share.
Yeah. Because I mean, my thing is like, okay, for me to see the success of ETC long term, I'm thinking, okay, what are going to be the killer DApps? And that's been my focus. So I'm just like, who can I get together with to talk about the oracles, the portals, and all that? This call sounds more like it's strictly for what can we do on the Ethereum layer 1 side, like the base protocol side, as opposed to.
You can feel free to go on to like any of the channels in the Discord, or even in whatever channel, whatever social channel you feel comfortable in. But yeah, you can do it here in the Discord. Just chat with anybody in general, or.
Okay. Yeah, there should definitely be people that are aware of me and what I'm doing. just trying to get as much exposure as I can. I'll probably link up with a few people afterwards.
Yeah, I actually used it.
Just to
Oh yeah,
comment
for
as
the
I
football
said
game.
before.
Yeah.
So Chainlink and other platforms won't be built on ETC if the protocol doesn't have innovation and security at the layer 1 protocol, and that's what we're trying to found here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping something, maybe something out of left field will make that problem moot. Hopefully.
Yeah, when it comes to like the proposals and research that we're doing currently, like when it comes to, like, I know people are super excited about the stuff happening on the SHA-3 side. There's a lot of community growth there and technical participation. But and you know, ETC Co-op is putting a large amount of its funding and effort into that initiative. But when it comes to not having a treasury and the donation models not working out, like how are you going to maintain and solidify a lot of the innovation that people are working on, and you know, because you need protocol maintenance and stuff. But if we want to say that, hey, if we're gonna just for example, hey, we're just gonna copy Berlin or ETH London, and you know, ETH's gonna be our upstream, and we're feature complete up till they move to proof of stake. I don't think that makes like a business, from a competitive advantage, that doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Also burning funds, like let's at the end of each year, uh, would be also important to consider for treasury.
And I just want to call out, is there anyone who has not spoken would like to speak in regards to the treasury?
Yeah, I think someone just asked about burning funds at the end of every year. Did someone say something like that?
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, that was my
Dirty
question.
Russian.
It's not set in stone.
I think it's important because, I mean, let's say if all of those funds are not used, and then the 20% per block continues, what's the point of having all these funds, all the funds that's not being used? Put it back in circulation, or I mean, put it back, not circulation, burn it and put it back.
Yeah, so yeah, I see what you're saying.
Once you guys get this treasury going, just remember you got a guy with oracles and decentralized bridges. Been working at it for a long time. Is this thing open yet? Is this thing going? Or is this it's yet to be?
Yeah, still got in discussions. But what? Go ahead, Steph.
There's the initial specification, and because I know you in particular are into smart contracts and stuff, and I think someone from the IOHK side could share. It's in the IOHK GitHub org, actually, the all the treasury solidity code and stuff, that you can actually run what the initial solidity code is like.
Yeah, there's a proof of concept.
Yeah. I'm on my mobile, but I can share that. Well, Carlos, can you share that?
Contract paid me. That's all. I'm pretty sure it's reliable.
So yeah, I'll post that in the chat.
So on that question of burning, it's something that we've talked through quite a bit in terms of basically ensuring that the funds are being spent in a helpful manner. We talked about the potential of a sort of a grant body that was doing a bit of gatekeeping, but I don't think that's viable, specifically for the client teams. Essentially, they have staffing needs that need sort of long-term stability. So the best that I could think of was firstly ensuring that you have sufficient amounts going through during periods where the price is low, right? You don't want to drop below a level that could actually support the staffing. But really thinking that the way to get accountability and value is really about reporting, is saying, well, look, show what your plan is, what you're doing, and that things are being worked through, and also show what your costs have been, what your actual spend has been, with the thought that then any sort of excess amounts that are left over could either be burnt, or the other alternative is that they could be moved into the general grants proportion, so that you have a larger pool of availability for general grants that are not specifically to do with those client teams, but are more general, value producing for the ecosystem. I mean, again, even on that grant side, you could have a burn mechanism for things which are not used there. But some combination, I think, of those kind of mechanisms is probably the simplest and best way that you can ensure that there isn't basically hoarding for personal profit.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really important piece of this puzzle, is that reporting, because it's, you don't want people to start buying Benzes or Lamborghinis and stuff. You need to hold them accountable.
Right, and that brings us back to the same accountability point that we were talking about initially, about how are these funds are actually going to be distributed.
So the proposal is really very simple, is that you have the slice of the block rewards. Those go to a smart contract, which is basically implementing the design, which is of that block reward slice, that you have a 30-30-30 for the 3 client teams, and then a 10% for grants. And those are just straight sliced and forwarded per block. And then you have these.
But who decides the grants? I was under the impression that everyone would be able to participate in this treasury. It's not just for 3 entities per se, but rather for teams or individuals who can present something and it's accepted, and then they get reward type thing.
Yeah, I
To encourage
believe.
more teams, not just 3 entities that are currently working on, but to add more people wanting to develop on ATC.
Yeah, so I believe one of the main reasons for just having 3 was, and this isn't, it's meant to be temporary, not forever, not to be forever, just to keep it simple, because
Well, what's temporary? Are we talking a year, 2 years, 3 months, 4 years, 5 years? Because temporary, it all starts off as temporary, but this can turn into a permanent.
4 to 5 years we're considering.
Yeah, it just depends on the development side. There was a more complex treasury system proposed about 4 years ago, and that was very complex. And
the thing is, if we have 3 entities that
the
are
weight of
now
the votes is
all those funds, I mean, we're no better than Ethereum, with Vitalik and his gang. So, I think the best approach would be
how if the community gets to decide whether or not this treasury keeps going or not.
Yeah. I mean, if it's temporary, I can understand maybe for the first year, but that has to be like set in stone that okay, we're doing this only for 1 year just to see how it goes. And after that, while within that year, we'll work on a more decentralized treasury.
Yeah,
That will
I get what you're saying.
benefit more people, not just us three. Because, like I said, if this only benefits 3 teams, then I think then that this treasury proposal is stupid. There's no point for
No, no,
this.
no. If if you
Okay.
read the if you read the CIP, there is a mechanism to become also a fund receiver. So it's
Fourth
open
party
to
or fifth party.
fourth party, fifth party, whatever party also. This is open system, so it's not centralized into 3 clients. I propose 3 because this is what we have right now in the ETC ecosystem. But there is, if there are other development teams that are also interested, that can be discussed, and that the Solidity contract and the ACAP proposal permits that to add and delete members, right? So in case that there is one member that doesn't deliver for value, then there would be the possibility also to exit that member from the treasury contract.
And on
I got you.
also when you talk about, because I know in this specific treasury proposal now it's mentions a fourth recipient as a for basically community grants, and I would say have that thing governed in a Zcash model where it's a bit more anarchic and community, like not maybe not anarchic, but that's where you have more of the community being able to um, pass grants and proposals and do interesting things in that way. But I think there's some issues when it comes to, like, you think about how things operate now. Like, is anyone that's outside of like besides the Ecip process, which is what we're all voluntarily following too. Um, you're not really, no one's saying like ETC co-op do this, IOHK do that, or uh, labs do this. So people need to operate in their environment. That's just more efficient for them, and also when it comes, because everyone has a different working environment and different requirements. But as far as minimum accountability and reporting requirements, I think that's absolutely important. And also, if there's a time limit and things have delivered, people want to keep the treasury or renew the treasury or get rid of the treasury.
It's all possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading right here. It says through the proposal mechanism, the community has the power to remove a member from the PECTS treasury system, or they can add members to the treasury system. The community has the power to do either. So that's an important thing to note.
Yeah, and if you're in an organization that's a treasury recipient is going to be doing things for the ecosystem. So, like if let's say ETC Co-op had a treasury right now, um, it wouldn't greatly improve myself or anything. It would just mean we can expand operations for just to serve the ETC ecosystem. And also, when you're a legal entity, especially like co-op, like a nonprofit, you have a lot of strict reporting requirements, and that there is accountability from that legality perspective, and yeah.
Yeah, but this is very community oriented, as far as this whole proposal is.
And as far as the community grant system, which could be like even more community driven, as far as issuing grants and reviewing them and stuff, a legal entity obviously has to represent that community fund or at least foster it. Um, so that would also have to be considered, and it's kind of a reality that people have to become that it's even Like it's just a reality. And when it comes to having your legal entity that's probably administering the community grants fund, or let's say ETC Co-op, IOHK, those are also legal entities. And when you're doing grants, you're signing contracts with people. So let's say you sign a contract with someone, and you're a treasury recipient. You sign a contract with someone with parameters and everything like that, and that person doesn't pull through with their end of the bargain, then obviously you have the traditional mechanisms of accountability where it's like, hey, dude, you totally breached this contract, and there's already systems in place for that.
Exactly, yeah. You've breached the contract.
That's exactly how you tell them to. There's already systems in place for that.
You mean you'd have to sue them to get the money back?
Well, I'm not sure in the traditional sense.
Missed the first question. What was the question again?
Would you have to sue somebody to get the money back?
No,
Yeah.
it will get back to the address that sent the proposal to the contract.
Well, once we get identity on the blockchain, they'll have a reputation associated with their identity.
Like a credit report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, never mind.
So we should probably be wrapping up, eh?
Yeah, we're 20 minutes in. I say yeah, I guess we're done unless anyone has anything else for the next
final
9
comments
minutes.
or anything.
I know that some people have said that I would say a finishing thought is rebuttal that was not brought up here, but tend to not be brought up much anymore, was like something cool about the Treasury is it does resist the decentralization of this basically the monopolization or franchise to one entity. That's also something to consider because you have 3 teams in a community fund, and everyone has weight to pull, and there is power distribution within the ecosystem in that way.
Yeah, or you could have 4 teams or 5 teams or however.
There's another team that wanted to come on board, and it's like, oh hell yeah, like the community, everyone
exactly.
loves that, then do that. And if the threshold is not enough, maybe that could be something to change for consideration. But
yeah, I agree. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I would just add, none of this is set in stone. It's still very early, I would say. I hate saying so early because it's been around for a year. But there's still things that can be changed. There's still feedback that needs to be taken. So I wouldn't assume anything is 100% set in stone, finalized, or whatnot.
Yeah, well, that's why this meeting was supposed to be just a productive discussion, because the initial Treasury system was proposed and kind of talking about as is, and a lot of the questions brought up here in regards to the current specification. So, yeah, but I guess we can wrap up here unless anyone wants to object.
Yeah, not object, but I feel like I'd have to go into more detail or have like a deeper discussion with any proposals for the Treasury and governance of the Treasury.
Absolutely. And of course, if you want to contribute to the proposals in like a specification type of way, or leave a comment, of course, there's the in the GitHub Ethereum Classic Community GitHub repo, there's the ECIP repo, and
okay. Maybe I can link up with somebody for that, because I have my communication skills, I guess, when it comes to communicating that sort of thing. I've got lots and lots of code and lots of, I guess, stuff I can explain, but if anybody on the call does want to meet with me afterwards to look at that, that would help a lot.
Yeah, I can help you out if you need some assistance or some whatever, you know.
Okay. I think that was you, Classic, right? Or I see the yellow guy, Classic
Yep.
Kevin. Okay,
Lay's
cool.
potato chips.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for coming. We had a great turnout. Thank you, IOHK, of course, Co-op, and Labs people who came on board, and individual community members for coming to this call. Hope everyone has a great day.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And thanks to
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
Steve, for organizing and hosting it.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye bye, guys.